Welcome to Dream and Do, a podcast for women who are chasing their dreams, rediscovering who they are, and are ready to make changes, big or small. I'm your host, Nicola Ray Wickham. Join me for confidence pep talks, soulful insights, and practical tips on all things creativity and wellness, along with powerful conversations with women who are dreaming and doing in action. This is the stuff you're going to wish you knew years ago, but don't worry, it's not too late. Let's get started. Hey loves, and welcome to episode 13 of the Dream and Do podcast. In this week's episode, I spoke to Mel Wells. Mel Wells is an eating psychology coach. She's a speaker, she's an author, and she's also a self-love expert. We had a really lovely conversation about food and about eating and the psychology behind that. And it's something I mention in our conversation, but it's not something that I have really put a lot of thought into. I'm very lucky enough not to have had any issues in that area. I've had my issues, believe me, but not in that particular area. So it was really interesting to dive into that. But I know that I'm, as Mel called me in the episode, a little bit of a unicorn in that sense. So I know that there's going to be a lot of you out there who really identify with the themes and the ideas and perspective that Mel talks about. So enjoy this episode. Before we dive in, I just want to say the Dream, Do and Flourish Mastermind. We kick off at the beginning of November. If you're interested in taking your ideas from just being things that you keep talking about to real life things that people can buy, see, listen to, maybe even dance to if you're a bit of a musician, then this is the mastermind for you. Led by me, hosted by me. You'll get me as your personal coach, helping you through the process of bringing this thing to life. So if you want to stop talking about it and being about it, then definitely head over to the website, A Life More Inspired. All of the information is there. I would love to have you on board. Right, let's get into the episode. Well, welcome, Mel, to the Dream and Do podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. I've watched you from afar for ages. Oh my gosh, that makes me feel like a stalker.
That's okay. Thank you.
It's the online world though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'm honoured that you feel that I'm worth watching.
Oh, bless you, bless you. So for those of people that don't know you, can you tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Mel Wells. I'm an author, speaker, and I've written 2 books with Hay House. One is called The Goddess Revolution and one is called Hungry for More. And they really are about helping women heal their relationship with food so that they can find real fulfillment in their lives. So that is really my work. I'm a health and eating psychology coach and mainly work with women that have been yo-yo dieters or had disordered eating and body image and are just really playing small in life, and that is just like become all they think about. And I do really believe that when we get sucked into that world, it is a distraction and it is a massive avoidance technique that our subconscious does to stop us from really stepping into our power and purpose. So that's what I'm passionate about.
And how did you get to the place where you're at now doing this kind of work?
Well, it was really through healing myself and my own journey, to be honest. I had eating disorders for like 7 years. And when I actually made the decision to like fully commit to healing, and for a long time I pretended that I wanted to get better, but actually I just wanted to justify staying the same. So when I actually committed to healing, I realized that my answers were not in another diet or another meal plan or another set of rules, but actually they were in self-love, self-acceptance, and a lot of self-inquiry and looking at where in my life I was not being true to myself and where in my life I was not fulfilled. So it became a much bigger job rather than just like focusing on losing weight, which I thought would solve my problems. I focused on getting my life back and focused on getting happy rather than getting skinny. And that changed a lot for me. I was in a relationship. I was actually married. I got married really young, and I was in a relationship that I felt like ticked all the boxes but didn't didn't make me happy inside. I felt like I wasn't able to be my full self around him. And I felt like the more I was trying to be myself, the worse our relationship got. I was working, doing stuff for money, like doing modeling stuff and promo stuff that was just like, soul destroying. Hated it. And I was living in a city that I didn't like, that was just really uninspiring to me. And the people that were around me just did not get me. I felt like all my real friends were like online or like living all over the place. And I was just, I felt like I had all these things that should have been this kind of great life. And I did not feel like I was being myself. And at the time, my ex's sister said to me, I feel sorry for you, Mel, because you're not satisfied with a normal life. And I was like, I don't really know if that's an insult or a compliment, but either way, no, you're right. I'm not satisfied with a normal life, actually. And it's not that I wasn't grateful. I was grateful, but I just knew that it wasn't my life. So, breaking free from that was a huge life decision, and one that's taken me on such an incredible journey. So really, healing my stuff with food led me to completely changing my life in so many ways.
Wow. What was the point that you made that decision?
Which one? The one to leave or the one?
The decision to heal your relationship with food.
Yeah. So that came when we started talking about trying for a baby. And when I thought about the notion of me, the possibility of me getting pregnant and having to grow a human in this body, I realized that I'd been abusing my body for so long. And I thought, first of all, can I even get pregnant? What if I've damaged myself so much? Because I was like just really abusing my body. Like I was a severe bulimic, and I really worried that I'd done so much damage that I maybe couldn't get pregnant. And then I thought, gosh, well, if I'm going to get pregnant, then my body's going to really change. I'm going to have to deal with that. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to grow a human in this body, I really need to change the way that I act towards my body. Because there was no love, there was no nourishment. It was starving, binging, restriction, punishment. And I just knew that I had to change the relationship that I had with my body if I was going to be a mother. And I wanted to pass down a good relationship with food to my child. And so it was that notion that made me completely change my perspective. And it's like I suddenly saw the big picture of my life, and I stopped thinking about food, and I started thinking, okay, well, I want to be a good role model. So if I was a mother, what would I be doing? If I was carrying a child, how would I be treating my body then? And I thought, well, if I would do that for a child, if I was pregnant, why have I not been doing that for myself now? So I decided, that's it. I've got to completely change. And I chucked away my scales. I literally threw out all of the rules that I had created in my mind, questioned all of these crazy beliefs that I had around food, like food is the enemy, or, sugar is evil, or can't have carbs after 6, or, if I eat one bad food, then I may as well eat 28 more bad foods and then start again tomorrow. Like all of these crazy beliefs that I had taken on to be true, I just chucked them all out the window and said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to have whatever the hell I want and just focus on loving my body and letting it be. And that surrendering control was like the best thing that I ever did.
Amazing. How do you share so vulnerably? I see you kind of sharing your story, and it's a raw story, isn't it? And I know, but how do you deal with being so vulnerable?
Yeah, it's a funny one. It's like I've been sharing this story for years because it was quite a long time ago for me. So now I can share it, and I speak on stage about it, and I know that in doing so, it does help people, and it does connect with people that are maybe in a similar place. But I still definitely have moments where I'm like, oh, that was maybe a step far. But like the stuff with food, I feel like it was such a long time ago for me that I'm able to talk about it and not be affected by it as much. I mean, I still feel sad about it because I feel like I wasted so much of my time in that cycle before I made that change. But I think because I get so many messages saying that my story has helped people kind of realize something or go on their own journey, I just know the value in sharing, and I know the value of, hopefully making people feel less alone by you being vulnerable and being truthful.
Absolutely. And that's what one of my key messages is about. By us becoming more of ourselves, not only does it feel good because it frees us up and we're not wasting that energy, it's exhausting hiding and trying to pretend, but then it gives other people permission. And I totally see that with the women that you work with in your community.
Yeah, completely. It's just like you can't ignore the amount of people that respond when you reveal something that loads of other people are going through but are keeping a secret because they feel shameful or guilty or like they're alone. And I mean, when I came out about having an eating disorder, that was in 2013, I think, and I was terrified because people weren't openly sharing that kind of thing on the internet, and I felt like I was revealing that I was a cocaine addict or something. It felt really shameful. But I think, that was maybe when social media was a bit newer, and now people are a lot more open on it because I think we've just grown with it and we're not as scared of it anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to ask you, so I know you talk about relationship with food. So this is a completely selfish question now. I have been really blessed because I've had my issues, but I haven't had issues around food and body image. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I feel like I'm very conscious of what I pass on to her. And I feel like it's so easy to use food as a reward. And food, and I see it, especially when I saw you talk at Limitless Live, and I know everyone in the room would have got something different from it. And from where I was sitting, it was about how we then have that relationship with food, and it can be a negative relationship, or it can be something that's seemingly positive, yet what am I instilling in her by saying, oh, it's Friday, we're going to have a treat and go for ice cream, and you've been really good at doing your homework this week, so we'll have ice cream. and I just wondered what you thought about that side of relationship with food.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and everyone's got their own stories around that, and you are in the minority, I would say, of women that have been affected with food and body image stuff, so congratulations, you are a unicorn.
I'm very lucky.
But my mum was actually the same. I do think, as a parent, you're kind of in a situation where whatever you do, it's going to affect them. But in terms of rewarding and treating, there are so many kind of ways that you could treat them and reward them by doing something special together that they love. That doesn't have to be food. But I think the main thing with food, I think it's okay to do that if it's a celebration, because food is a celebration. But I think it's only, you've got to watch it when it becomes a way to escape or a way to, if you shut up and stop crying, then you can have this food. If it's like a conditional thing, because really, you could be in the park any day of the week, and if you want an ice cream, you could go and get an ice cream. She doesn't have to kind of play her cards right in order to win it. I think when it becomes like a prize to be won, then it starts to be this kind of forbidden holy grail. But if, obviously I'm not a mum, so I know I'm not able to kind of really be the expert of this just yet. But I do think it's great to reward children with kind of beautiful experiences and special things that they really love and appreciate, and we don't want to turn junk food into this kind of holy grail. That's all.
Yes, absolutely. It was just as I was doing some research for this, it just came to my mind. I was like, that's so interesting. That relationship with food, even that as a concept, was something that I hadn't really thought about. And when I applied it to life, it was like, well, actually, that's how it plays out
Well, I mean, if you look at like the way that children are being marketed to, and I mean, I know nowadays it's a bit different because people aren't watching TV as much anymore, but even the concept of like a Happy Meal at McDonald's implies for kids that if you eat this, you'll be happy. You know, and parents, if your kids are misbehaving, come and get them a Happy Meal. And they've even thrown in their favourite toys, you know. I mean, I don't know if that's still the deal, if kids even care about toys anymore, if they're just on
Oh, they do.
But yeah, I think it's just, we just have to be aware of it, that's all, and just be aware of what kind of patterns we are creating. I mean, for me, when my mum and dad broke up when I was 10, my mum's house operated very differently around food than my dad's house. So my mum's house was all like very healthy, no junk food, like good nourishing meals. And then we would go to my dad's house for a weekend and he would be like, have whatever you want, pizza, like chocolate. We used to binge, we used to gorge because we had not been allowed it at my mum. So it kind of encouraged that yo-yoing. And then I think, you know, dad probably did that to kind of play his, you know, get a point over on my mum. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so, you know, I think we can't restrict them too much. We should be able to give them the freedom to know that these foods are not bad or forbidden, but at the same time, like, we don't want to glorify junk food or make our kids feel like as soon as they're away from us, they're just going to pig out because they've not been able to have it at home.
Exactly. Interesting stuff. And so your book, Hungry for More, with the byline being satisfy your deepest cravings and feed your dreams and live a full up life. That feed your dreams, like my thing is all about dreaming to doing. And I was really interested to know that relationship between food and dreams.
Yeah, well, I think really what that's pointing to is a lot of women have emotional eating tendencies and tendencies to like overeat and binge. And I truly believe that when we are doing that, we are like chasing this full up feeling. We're chasing this feeling of full and trying to numb something. And actually what we're doing, if we look a bit deeper, is we're not being who we're meant to be in this world. We're not pursuing our dreams. We're not fully showing up as ourselves. And so food becomes the go-to to kind of try and fill ourselves up from the outside in, as opposed to filling ourselves up from the inside out, which is fulfillment. And I think when we are stuck in this kind of world of being in a battle with food, it stops us from going after our dreams because we kid ourselves and think, well, I can't possibly go out into the world and play big because I've got to lose weight first, or I've got to, you know, I can't do that because I'm scared to be seen, or I don't look the right way, or what will people think of me? You know, it really stops us from really going for it. And so the feed your dreams bit is really about, you know, getting women to find peace with food so that they can go out and live. Like, I don't want people to be obsessed with food their whole lives. I don't want people to kind of get sucked into like, how do I do it right? And then that's all they think about, because the whole point of healing yourself with food is so you can go and live, you know, so you can really get the most from your life and go after those dreams.
Amazing. I got shivers as you were saying that. So I was like, I feel like this conversation is just reframing the whole power of food, no matter where you are on the scale. It's actually, and as much as I sat here and said, oh no, I don't have kind of issues with it, but 100% if I'm having a rubbish day, I will go and comfort eat.
Right. And
up in a sense to get that full up feeling. So
yeah, exactly. And it's so normal. And food is like the easiest thing for us to do that with, you know. It's like the easiest thing for us to turn to try and control something. It's the easiest thing for us to turn to go to when we feel a disconnection. And when we're emotional eating, that's usually a response to something that's happened that makes us feel some element of disconnection or some element of unfulfillment. So, you know, I think real hunger is obviously very different. Real hunger obviously comes on gradually. We're able to make a, you know, good, you know, fair decision about what we're going to eat, what will feel good in our bodies. But an emotional eating craving is like very fast, comes on in the mind, and it's like, boom, you need to eat chocolate, or you need to drink wine, or whatever it is. And food is like the easiest thing for us to turn to do that. But definitely when we look a little bit deeper and we go, where did that feeling come from? We can really get to know ourselves on a much deeper level and figure out what we're really hungry for, because it could be that we did that because we had a really stressful day at work. Or it could be, if you look a bit deeper, that we're in a job that we don't enjoy and that's leading us to emotional eat. Could be that if, a guy that you're dating doesn't respond to you, then you want to go and get drunk or whatever it might be. And instead of just going for it and getting lost in those patterns, if we can actually have that moment where we go, what's this really about? Then we can get to know ourselves and satisfy what those deeper cravings really point to, which is often more love for myself, more time to unwind and de-stress, more time connecting to myself and with God or higher power, whatever you believe in. And then it's only when we do that can we really understand who we are and what our desires are in life.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So this is your second book on Hay House, and I read that you're the youngest Hay House author. I was like, ooh.
Well, I think I still am. That was a title that I was quite proud of. But that was when I first signed with them. Because when I first signed with them, I was 25, and now I'm 28. So I think I maybe.
I think I'd take it. Yeah, take that, Mel. Definitely.
I will take that.
Do you feel like you have more books in you? I know I'm asking you this, and this book hasn't come out officially yet. It's out for pre-order. But do you feel like you've got more books in you?
Yeah, I do. I've already kind of been playing around with a possible idea for my next one. But it's kind of, I do feel like I am one of those people that will just keep writing. Because it's like the journey just never ends. Do you know what I mean? And there's always more to explore. And the thing is with a book is you can't kind of go back and edit it. It's like out there. And like people are still picking up my first book and being like, oh my God, this book is changing so much for me. And for me, I'm like, I wrote that like 3 years ago. Like it blows my mind to think that like people can pick it up and be in the same space that I was in 3 years ago and read it. And then I can have that effect on someone. And then I'm on this other journey at the moment where I'm discovering more stuff. And then I get to share that with people. And it's like different people fit with different messages. Like someone asked me the other day, like, do I need to have read the first one to read the second one? And I'm like, no, it totally depends on what space you're in and what where you're at in your life. Like if you are really ingrained in that kind of diet land and disordered life, then definitely the first one. But if you have kind of started to discover more about yourself and you're able to kind of look at all the elements of your life, and you're doing that kind of self-reflection, or you're willing to, then definitely the second one. But yeah, they're just like little parts of my soul and parts of my journey.
Oh, I love that. And I love speaking. My whole aim with the podcast is to speak to women who are dreaming and doing in action, because that then shows other people what's possible. And I always believe when we see other women doing those things, it opens up the possibilities for us. And you're absolutely doing that. So what are you dreaming about at the moment?
Good question. Well, at the moment, I'm on this path of creativity. The work that I did in this book has actually taken me on such a journey that has made me understand that I have been hungry for creativity. I think when I kind of got so into the business world that I didn't allow myself any time for creativity, really. And I mean, to a degree, there's creativity in my business because I'm writing and I'm designing and all this stuff. But actually, when I was little, I wanted to act, and I loved film and TV and performing on stage. So at the moment, I am, despite being super busy with this book launch, I am making time to go to acting classes 3 times a week. And I'm learning filmmaking from my partner, who's a filmmaker. We're like learning film together. And that is really filling me up on a soul level. And it's separate from my business, but it's making me so happy. And I'm finding so much joy in that. So at the moment, that is what is feeding my dreams.
Exciting. And I can't wait to see maybe in the future that will amalgamate with the business. It's bound to have an impact.
Yes.
in
yes,
some kind
definitely.
of way, isn't it?
Definitely. Well, we're just enjoying like creating videos together at the moment. It just feels really free. And I think when we have a business that is a reflection of us, it should be a full reflection of us. And I really want to inspire people to know that their whole life doesn't have to revolve around their work or their food, or, you know, I really hope that people can appreciate that I am living a very full life. And that's what I want to share. I don't want to kind of hide parts of me away or feel like I shouldn't. Like, I really rejected that side of me because I thought, no, I'm this businesswoman now and I'm writing books about food and this is what I need to be, and this I'm helping people and blah, blah, blah. And it took me a long time to realize that actually that part of me was just as welcome as this teacher role that I'm now in. So that's been a journey that I've been on as well. And that's been really, really insightful and really healing.
Yeah, definitely. And often when we ask that question, what did we love to do when we were children? That always throws up so much, doesn't it? So,
yeah, completely.
Brilliant. So I think that is it for today. Thank you so much. Where can everybody find you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. So my website is melwells.com. And if you want to come hang out on Instagram, it's Instagram. Wait a minute, what am I talking about? It's at I am Mel Wells.
Oh, amazing. And hopefully we'll be seeing these videos that you've been doing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll just keep sharing them as we make them. We're just kind of playing around at the moment. But yeah, that's why we're going to be more creative, hopefully.
Fantastic. And the book is out on July
the 10th.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, all the best with everything, Mel. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening. It is so appreciated. If you like what you heard, help your girl out by subscribing on iTunes and leaving a review. And I'll be picking out a reviewer each month to receive a very special affirmation card and print pack. So get over there to get yours. Sending you love and light as always, and I will see you really soon.